Just from what you can see right now, some of you probably already know exactly what this is. For everyone else, you'll find out in just a moment. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another UXW Bill video. What you're looking at right now is quite possibly one of the finest clock radios that General Electric or any other company has ever manufactured. It has all the features that you would expect, such as dual alarms that can wake you to an alarm or music, a volume control, an AM/FM radio, a clock with a vacuum fluorescent display that automatically dims and brightens based on the ambient lighting conditions. But what makes this model so very special is over here to the right-hand side of its front panel. That's right. Not only can you directly enter radio stations, you can also directly enter the time when you go to set the clock. You can also tune up and down the band, and you can even store and recall your favorite stations from its memory. Unfortunately, this clock radio is also something of a holy grail because all of them share the same defect, and that is failure of the keypad due to corrosion. Now, I don't know how many of these General Electric made. I know this was a pretty high-end model, pretty expensive for its time when it was new back in the early 1980s, and I suspect that the keypads failing have resulted in a lot of these simply having been thrown out over the years, which is a very unfortunate thing and a terrible end to what is an outstanding clock radio. And yes, the keypads can be fixed. We'll talk about that in just a moment. This particular model is the 7-4885. I believe it's known as the Great Awakening. There was also a 7-4880. The only substantial difference between these two models is the presence of a tone control on the 4885 and also the use of a vacuum fluorescent display on the 4885 model. The 4880 lacks the tone control and uses a red LED display that, of course, better matches this mode indicator over here. Now, these keypads, as previously mentioned, can be repaired. This one is something that I actually rescued from a local junk shop today. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It was so dirty when I plugged it in the store that it wouldn't even operate properly, but it has really come around with a very good cleaning. I took all the components out of the top case, including the speaker, and I went ahead and cleaned this up with an old toothbrush. That got all the dust out of the controls. As for the controls themselves, I hit them with a spritz of deoxit. I'll need to go after that with some fader lube to really get them working the way that they're supposed to. But now this thing actually works, for the most part, like it ought to. But of course, the keypad is bad. And what I did for now to simply get it working, because the problem is caused by corrosion, possibly from the outgassing of a piece of foam rubber that is inserted between the keys and the circuit board that they depress switches on, I took a piece of sandpaper and I cut it down to the point where I could run it underneath the little metal wafers that make up these switches, and then I pulled it through until it came out clean. And while there are certainly still keys that do not work, and it is definitely not a perfect fix as a result, it is working well enough that now I can give you a demonstration of this particular clock radio. But before I do, we'll hit some of the major features. As previously mentioned, we have volume and tone controls, 2 alarms that allow you to wake up to your choice of the alarm, music and the alarm, or just music. You can choose the display's mode of operation. If you turn this all the way back to the start, it shows you what your alarm is set to. Right now it's turned off. The second position shows you what the second alarm is configured for. The third position shows the time of day. The fourth position, if the radio is turned on, shows you the frequency that you're listening to. And the final position shows you how much time remains on the radio's built-in sleep timer if you have it set. Then, of course, we have the functions over here on the control panel. You have buttons to allow you to choose between FM and AM listening. You can tune up and down the band, or you can enter a frequency directly if you'd like. You can clear an incorrect entry. The PM button is used to set afternoon or evening times because this is a 12-hour only clock. And then finally, you can store and recall stations into the memories, and then there is a button to turn the whole works off when you have decided that you're done listening to it. Around here on the back, there is a connection for an earphone or even a pillow speaker. And if we flip this over, which we'll do here in just a moment, they give you a quick guide to operations. I know you're looking at it upside down, but we'll take care of that here in just a moment, provided the power cord is long enough. So if you have one of these and somehow find that the instructions to operate it are missing and you're not sure, you can pause the video and look at this. This particular model was manufactured in 1981. There are connections for an external FM antenna as well as a ground. There's also a warning feature that allows you to have the radio produce a repeating tone if the power should happen to fail and the radio's memories are lost, which of course you can prevent by installing not one, but two 9-volt backup batteries. Wow, thing must be pretty hungry for power. I wonder how well that actually works. We might have to try that out. There will almost certainly be a future video on this thing where I discuss repairing it and show the results. And then somewhat surprisingly, we also have an adjustment for the AM tuning steps on the bottom. I don't know why that is present, because this particular model is for 120 volt countries only. And as far as I'm aware, all countries that use 120 volt AC power also use 10 kilohertz AM tuning steps. But I suppose that if the country that you happen to live in was one that changed their AM tuning steps, or you had something like a step-down transformer or a frequency converter so that the clock would run at the right speed, because it would not do that if you plugged it into a 50 hertz outlet through a step-down transformer, that this particular model would happen to have you covered. So those are all the features. Let's go ahead and just have a little bit of a listening test here. I've got the radio turned on to what V Westlife refers to as the piano music station, but they were running a talk program. However, I think that has probably come to a close at this particular hour. Obviously, what you're going to hear is not going to accurately reflect what this radio really sounds like, because your own speakers will color the sound with their own limitations on frequency response and overall quality. There's a 3-inch loudspeaker up here in the top. It needed quite a lot of cleaning because, like other top-firing loudspeakers, it was incredibly, unbelievably dirty. I'm surprised that some of the dust had not managed to work its way down into the voice coil and make the speaker sound scratchy as a result. But the sound is very rich, full, and clear, and I assure you this thing will play extremely loudly without complaint. We'll just hit a few stations on the FM band. I have to keep these fairly short because we don't want any trouble with copyright. Does not have a Seek-style tuner.
We have resources for you.
Now we'll just try a few AM stations for comparison's sake. It's nighttime, so there's going to be a lot of stations overlapping one another. But here's good old AM 650 out of Tennessee, We Shield Millions, or WSM. The fidelity is not quite as high on AM as it is on FM, but it's certainly not bad at all, and it's much less muffled sounding than a lot of modern radio tuners manage to be.
America's country station, WSM Radio. Joe and play walking the floor. I said, set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor. Set 'em up, Joe, and play walking the floor.
The voice, Vern Gostin. Vern, hold your quarters. I got you covered on this. Here's VT, walking the floor.
I'm walking the floor over you. I can't sleep away.
So we'll hit a few other stations on AM. Just see what's coming in throughout the night here.
Mark's is from Donnie to answer questions. He wouldn't answer a single one. He said, what makes you think you? I know the answer.
Perspective.
4 games. But 7, you've got one guy, it's literally an assemblyman. He's on a other areas.
Of course, we can also enter in a station that we want to hear directly. I'll have to make sure to pick some of the buttons that actually work here. I think you also have to change the display mode over to radio for this to work. I know that 0 worked. I got one out of it earlier. But it doesn't look like it wants to work now, but you get the idea. If this keypad was really working the way that it was supposed to, you would be able to type in whatever station that it is you wanted to hear, as long as it fell on a frequency that this thing can actually be able to tune. That, of course, is pretty much the entirety of everything there is to know about this clock radio. I'd like to thank you for watching this video, and I'd also like to tell you, I'd like to beg you, if you find one of these out in the world somewhere and its keypad doesn't work, please don't throw it away. Please don't destroy it. They can be fixed, and although the fix is a little bit involved and it might not be something that everyone wants to do, I assure you it will be worth your while to try and find a home for one of these if you don't happen to want it. So as always, thank you for watching. I certainly hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I look forward to hearing your constructive commentary. Ordinarily, at the end of my videos, I'd go ahead and I'd turn the radio off. Just one of those silly things that I've taken to doing over the years. But in this case, unfortunately, the off button doesn't work. So we'll simply pretend and do the best we can just by turning the volume all the way down.
Turn out the lights.